Welcome, everybody. We're so glad you joined us tonight for our deep dive on LifeWave technology. And tonight's topic is why so many people are transitioning and joining in on a natural health modality like LifeWave. And I think you are going to be pleasantly surprised by what you learn. But at the end, I'm also going to talk about why some people might feel they aren't working. And that's a really common question I get. And I was on the phone today explaining to some folks why they might not feel it. So stay tuned for that. But I wanted to open this up with just a few headlines that come into my Apple News on my phone every day. And it goes on and on and on. Smoking is riskier than ever, flu outbreak, childhood obesity, hormone medication could increase brain tumors, dementia has no cure. Oh, and then this poor lady, a mom of 30, she's only 33 years old. She used an antibiotic and she got this very strange toxic result. I mean, the list just goes on and on. Depression and anxiety doubling for teenagers. And, these are really scary health headlines that we're all faced with every day. And we get a little bit concerned, don't we? I mean, look at these. A third of the causes of death um, in the US, most doctors don't want you to know about. Sounds like maybe a malpractice issue there. But diagnostic errors are linking to 800,000 deaths or permanent disability just in our country every year, day in and day out. That's like how many planes crashing a month? That's major. And these things don't really get reported on. Medical errors are the number three cause of US deaths. It just goes on and on and on. And it's pretty frightening. But the reality is, in the world right now, we are really dealing with a global healthcare crisis. So we're looking at high medical risk. We are looking at expense. We're looking at errors, corruption. That's really heartbreaking. For the people that we want to put our trust of our health and our life in the hands of, and knowing that there's some corruption in the back room, that's not good. But there's a lot of different things going on, and it's caused some people to maybe lose a little faith in that system. And maybe they lose some faith when they realize some of the crisis they're dealing with. And I think the most I've ever heard of somebody I've helped with these patches, I had a lady who had 27 different prescriptions that she had to take every day. Some of them she had to take more than once a day. And that's pretty scary. And the reality is that your body ends up being compensating long before you ever started to see symptoms. So just keep that in mind that by the time you have a symptom that you're recognizing, these things like chronic inflammation, that these have been raging in your body for a while, toxic buildup, maybe it's damage from pharmaceuticals. Um, and it's hard for you to resolve those things at the root cause because the things that most doctors give us are more pharmaceuticals that usually have a side effect, right? But this is really coming down to a modern health crisis. And they're now linking 60% of the diseases to just chronic inflammation. And we have 50 million Americans living with that chronic pain a year. And that's just sad. And I don't think that's acceptable. And this is a trend here showing, how much pain management therapeutics the market is. And it just goes up and up and up. And we're talking billions of dollars. And we have 1.5 billion people on this planet dealing with chronic pain. And that's just a crying shame. But it's good you're here tonight because you don't have to be one of these that's stuck with this for life. We're going to talk about how to live your best life naturally and how to overcome some of these odds and how to put those headlines in perspective and maybe even just tune them out because you don't care about what the media has to say about that stuff. Maybe you're going to empower your body to fix itself, like some of us have. Autoimmune, Karen was just talking about her thyroid regenerating. Mine did as well. I had a thyroid condition, hypothyroidism, and it took 4.5 months. I got off my levothyroxine I'd been on for 15 years. They told me I'd be on it for the rest of my life. But pretty much every one of these on here, I have personally got to help a friend or two deal with these things and improve. That's heart condition. those things, they don't just pop up overnight. They are a combination of things that bring us to that point. 1 in 5 adults these days experience mental illness. And that's really a crying shame. What we're going to talk about tonight can address every one of these and more. And they don't need a diagnosis. They don't need a person in a white jacket, because the reality is your body has the ability to heal, and it's far greater than anyone has ever permitted you to believe. So don't always buy the doom and gloom story out there in the media. I'm here with really good news that should make you feel really good. And Joy already touched on this just a few minutes ago about what we're talking about is not treating illness with this product. We are unlocking the body's innate ability to heal and repair and regenerate. And who doesn't want to do that? Because living healthy, it shouldn't just be a goal. It should just become a way of living. And that's what this company and this product is all about. And maybe you don't live as healthy as you wished you did. This product is going to help you do a better job of that, because of this genius man right here, David Schmidt. He is the LifeWave founder, CEO, and inventor of the first ever non-transdermal patch where nothing is going into the bloodstream or the body. It's a reflection of light to make change in the body. But it took him 3 years in a lab to figure out the first patch he ever created was for the US Navy SEALs 20 years ago. And that powered up the Navy SEALs, helped them have stamina, energy, recovery. Michael Phelps wore that same patch. It's called Energy Enhancer. And he won a lot of medals in Beijing on the Olympic swim team. You might remember controversy over him because they thought he was doping, but he really was not. He was just benefiting from the power of his body to perform at a peak level. But the most amazing claim to fame for David Schmidt, and what I think he really should win a Nobel Peace Prize for, is the invention of the X39. And that's really the holy grail of our health. That's raising a GHK copper peptide in your body. When you have enough of that copper peptide back, it is a fountain of youth trigger for so many issues. The master cells get elevated, inflammation gets reduced throughout the whole body systemically. The body gets a nice low level detox, and we start seeing sleep improving with the elevation of GABA in the brain. So we just looked at this slide a couple minutes ago, but this is the difference of youthfulness. That image on the left, that lady's cells look like that top image. Those are beautiful, healthy cells that have the ability to keep us in check, in balance, feeling our best, looking our best. But sadly, as we age, these cells age right along with us. And they can be for different reasons. We're going to talk about that in a minute. But when that cell breaks down, it's not able to support that young, youthful body. Our outsides start reflecting what's on the inside, and that's what's critically important. The outside is just, icing on the cake. The cake is what matters in the body. So let's go and talk about getting those cells back young, beautiful. But why are so many people loving these patches? And these are shipping to 81 countries around the world. This is a 20-year-old company growing like crazy. And why are people seeking this out and loving it when they do finally find out about it? Because I always say it's the best kept secret in the world. But they're non-invasive, so there's nothing you need to be worried about. There's nothing harmful from them. They are non-transdermal. Nothing's going in the bloodstream or the body. You don't have to worry about tasting something bad. Do you remember the good old days of cold syrup? I remember I hated taking those things. Ugh, they were awful, right? We don't have to do that. We don't have to swallow anything. No pills. You don't have to worry about if you choke on a horse-sized pill or not. There's none of that. No needles, no injections. And this does not even need to touch your skin. So there's like 1 to 2% of the population that has an allergy to a hypoallergenic 3M adhesive that these use. No problem. If that's you, you just put them on your clothes, put them under your pillowcase, you can put them in your shoes. It doesn't have to be on your skin. I love that. Here's the cool thing. There's nobody who can't wear this, whether you're 2 or 102, anyone can. And if you've ever used a sticker or a Band-Aid, you've got this. This is peel and stick technology, and it's simple and safe for everybody. So we're just talking about harnessing the body's own natural ability for performance, repair, regeneration. And the LifeWave approach is, again, that non-transdermal light therapy. And it activates a biochemical change in the body, and that is called phototherapy. It is our body heat that turns these patches on, and it's reflecting back our own low-level infrared light. That's the light that you would see when you're wearing night vision goggles. And these are backed by over 90 clinical studies around the globe. Some of these studies have been done in France, in the UK, um, the US, all over the world. And they are placebo-controlled blind studies done by independent labs, which I think is important. But what we're talking about with this X39 is the ability to heal and regenerate. It is influencing 4,000 of your genes, resetting them to a younger state. And when you have enough of that GHK copper peptide back, you're actually activating your healthy stem cells, which is pretty amazing because that GHK copper peptide, I mean, is a game changer for so many conditions and health issues. And it is produced naturally in the body, and it's known to support healthy stem cell activity. So put that X39 on and watch that peptide come back. But what we're talking about with this company is treating the cause and not the symptom. And what a novel idea is that? Because so many of our doctors today, they are just treating our symptoms, and we never get to the basis, the root cause of what's going on. But when we're dealing with pain, we're working on the cellular level. Pain happens at the cellular level. It's damaged tissue. It can lead to more inflammation and more damaged cells. And it creates a cycle of pain that can be really hard to break, especially if you get addicted to the pain meds that you get given to just cope and manage that pain. But we're here with some good news. We're going to talk about how to address that physical pain on a cellular level. Now, be in mind here, when you take that ibuprofen, you might get a result in an hour. When you use these patches, it's working very differently because we're not treating the symptoms. You need to be patient. You are building and repairing cells. That takes a little time. So, healthy cells are able to handle stress and injury and reduce the pain. So that's the first thing we want to do. We're going to work on all your cells in your body just to give your body a better fighting chance of keeping you out of pain. But we're going to do some few other little steps to help improve your overall health. We're going to help you get into a deeper level of sleep. That's one of my first things I ask people when I get to help them. And you'd be surprised how many people don't sleep. What I notice is most of those people have an itis after their name. That could be an arthritis, a plantar fasciitis. There's all sorts of things. And we're going to talk about why those get developed. But diet, walking is a great form of exercise. You don't have to be in the gym pumping weight. Just get your blood flow going. Tell your body to, purge, clean house, keep things moving. But what we're addressing is mitochondrial energy in the cell, because that is where the pain originates, and that is where we are going to fix it. So if you are dealing with pain, these are our 4 favorite patches. X39, that holy grail, and Eon, that happy patch, working to put your body in rest and digest mode instead of fight or flight. We hear a lot of people who say, oh, my anxiety seems better, my insomnia is better. And that's a great thing, but a lot of it has to do with that calming effect. For me, the most incredible thing about this is the inflammation reduction throughout the body, because inflammation is an eater of stem cells. So if we don't get your inflammation under control and you're only using X39, you're not getting the full benefit, because that inflammation is robbing you of some of those beautiful healing cells. LifeWave, a 2-patch pain blocker. We can add that. It is drug-free, non-addictive, but that can take away the pain in, gosh, sometimes in under 5 minutes, and oftentimes in even under a minute. Alavita, we love to add this one at night when we sleep. I love to wear it between my eyebrows, and it's decalcifying our pineal gland, which is a fountain of youth trigger, telling our body to get reproducing our collagen and our hyaluronic acid again. Joint lubrication comes from collagen, ligaments, tendons, the frontal lobe of the brain, sleep, melatonin, and elongating and protection of telomeres. Spine pain is dramatically helped when we use these. Bulging discs here on the left, picture on the right, it's all regenerated. Curvature of the spine. A month later, combination of patches, the body has allowed that spine to realign itself. I like this picture of Eon because it's showing you the before picture. So those top two pictures, that's the back, the orange and the red you see, the inflammation, the heat, the swelling, putting pressure on nerves, and the stomach on the other one there. And look at after just 5 minutes, this is thermography mapping, that hotness is gone. It's just taming down that body. Again, rest and digest mode is calming, and that is really helpful. So it's doing some really great things for the master antioxidants, anti-inflammatory, that happy patch, like I mentioned, and brain balancing, and it helps reduce cortisol and C-reactive proteins. And if you happen to have one of those conditions that is triggered by the C-reactive protein, this is a game changer for you. Um, and then the ice wave, it is really all safe, and it just helps you enjoy a better quality of life without that nagging pain screaming at you. And there's a lot of benefits to ice wave. It is safe and natural. You can use it on any body part, and it's very fast acting. There's no drugs. This is patented. It's the only company in the world that you can get this type of product from. There are other patches out there on the market, but I'm here to tell you they're radically different. Most of those are called transdermal patches. When you get a nicotine patch, hormone patch, etc., those are putting things into the body. This is not. And on our website, harmonypatching.com, we have a whole section on where we place the patches. You can see this little blue arrow here in the middle of the ice wave. If you click on that on the website, it's going to play a nice little video for you and educate and spoon feed this. If you have migraine type of pain, you can click on that. It's going to tell you where you put ice wave for that. All over pain, back pain, so on and so forth. I really encourage you, go to the website, harmonypatching.com, so that you can learn to get the most out of your patches. And I think you learned a lot there. And then we've got Alavita. This is my personal favorite, brought my brain back when I was in that change of life season. My words returned, my skin started getting better, my hair started growing back, but it is doing so much for the body. And that pineal gland decalcifying, game changer. Energy Enhancer. This is that first patch I mentioned that David originally created for the US Navy SEALs, in which Michael Phelps won all those medals. But Serena and Venus Williams, tennis greats, they love this patch. Tom Brady, the Kansas City Chiefs. The list just goes on and on. Lots of athletes have been using these for 20 years. But look at this lady here. This talks about fueling your passion for life. You don't just have to be an athlete. You can want to excel at what you love to do. And look at this lady, probably an opera singer of some sort. She has put her energy enhancer on her chest, and that is clearing out her lymphatic system. That's helping her voice be strong and clear. But I think it's pretty cute. I don't know if these are permanent tattoos she's done or she just drew the eyelashes on around them, but pretty fun. And we have another patch called Carnosine. And it's another of our favorites. Joy loves this one too. It's really helps give the words back very quickly. It's working on your cardiovascular system and blood flow. And it helps the body regenerate, repair, and just works really well. And you have that carnosine peptide in your brain and in your heart in high concentration. You have it throughout your body in organs and even in every muscle. SB6, that is another fantastic way to help support the body if you are dealing with cravings and hunger. Maybe you're trying to do a weight reduction program. This gives you that power to control what your brain is screaming for through the hypothalamus. And it's working off of blood sugar. And it's just pretty fantastic. So look at this old fella here, hunched over, cane. He's working on turning back the hands of time. He starts using these. He's activating his DNA. He's regenerating those repair cells. And this guy is able to regenerate and live his best life. And that can happen fairly quickly. And we are time bending here, literally time bending. You can see that image there. So that's not just a made up thing. I brought these couple pictures in just to show you on the right. This is a friend of ours that we know. The picture on the left was him 10 years ago, before he ever knew these patches existed. Look at him after 10 years. longer of using these. Now, mind you, X39 has only been out for 5 years, but look at that. He looks so much younger. He should look older, but he doesn't. Now, this lady here had a procedure to untangle her jugular vein and release a nerve. Look at her after 10 days. Look at that big, gnarly scar. That is the power of the body to do change very rapidly. And what's not to love about these patches? On our website, we have a really excellent timeline because the first few days, you're resetting about 4,000 of your genes. That's giving you energy, sleep, less pain and inflammation. Around 4 weeks, you've started to finally wake up some of that cellular army. It doesn't mean in 4 weeks you have enough of those repair cells to think you can quit. And I think it's such a shame when people don't give it the time. But it helps your body to prioritize the needs because those new cells are attracted to your most critical issues first. So keep that in mind, especially when we go into this next little section. It's going to do what it needs to do to keep you alive. That is the job of those repair cells. And you may not feel something right away. And it's highly unusual to feel internal organs or tissues making change. But that timeline, that 3 to 6 month mark is really critical. And if you don't give these a 3 to 6 month chance, I would say, maybe don't even bother wearing them because you need your body to have the tools it needs to make change. And again, we're wearing these a minimum of 1 month for each decade we are old to reach that repair phase. Beyond that, we get into reverse aging. So I have another little section here because it really is a mistake to think that nothing is happening, even though you're not feeling it. So, these are our most common types of chronic diseases. So I ask you, when you are getting these, when you're getting liver disease, when you're getting kidney disease or cancer or Alzheimer's, tell me, what are you feeling? Are you feeling those things develop? And I would say no. We typically are not feeling those things developing. The same is true with the repair of these kinds of things. We don't feel the cells changing when we're dealing with the root cause. And you can't feel bone regeneration at the bone marrow level. It's happening. Part of this is maybe a faith thing. But why do some people get a quicker result and others take more time? And it really comes down to lifestyle and cellular health, having everything to do with the timeline. So you can't blame the patches. And I've had some people say, oh, I wore those a month or two and I didn't lose all the weight I wanted. Well, okay, did you put all that weight on in a couple months? No. Um, you can't do everything you want. This is no, silver bullet magic wand, but this is the most remarkable thing I've ever found for the body. But we need to look at our toxic load in our body, how many chemicals and what's the food we eat, what's our genetics, what's our age, If you're 60, you have lost 90% of those repair stem cells. That doesn't give you a whole lot to work with. Genetics, they can be reset with that GHK copper peptide and that X39 patch. That's the best news. If your ancestors gave you something you don't want to deal with, you don't have to keep it. You can turn back that clock on them. The diet is huge, and we always want to minimize the sugar, the processed foods, and especially alcohol. They're really realizing that alcohol is much more detrimental to the cells than we knew. Stress, terrible on the body. EMF, electromagnetic fields, that is radiation, that's Wi-Fi, 3G, 5G, and that's why he invented that X49 patch. It was never about powering up the metabolism and converting fat into beautiful muscle. It was simply to protect the brain and the cells from the damage of 5G. And then they started realizing all these amazing other things happening, including the bone regeneration in the clinical trials. And then, of course, inflammation. So these all have triggers and implications for your timeline. And when you do have a toxic buildup, these are some of the symptoms. And a lot of people, they feel, I can't lose the weight. Well, maybe it's not fat. Maybe what you're harboring around your midsection is, little toxic bubbles that are protecting your organs. And that's the way the body's designed. Maybe that brain fog is telling you have stuff in your brain that doesn't belong there. That insomnia is telling you got a problem, right? So keep these things in mind and listen to your body. But autoimmune conditions can resolve. And these are three different fellows here. And look at the challenge changes in them. And the guy here with the fast growing cells, remarkable. That poor man in 15 years had 20 surgical procedures to try and tame those fast growing cells. Look at what 2 months of wearing them did for him. His skin was finally able to heal. But it comes down to the drainage of our body. It all starts at cells, then it's tissues, organs, the lymphatic system, liver, colon. We are working on all of these things getting healthier, clearing out that sludge and the toxins. And I have good news for you. If you are dealing with liver issues, and this is not only just, we're talking just patches, the body is designed to regenerate. And there are people in history that have been able to change things around, change their diet, change their lifestyle, and you can regenerate. But layer on an amazing little phototherapy patch and look out. So the causes of diseases really come down to pathogens in our body. That can be a parasite, a virus, bacteria, fungus, molds. There are many toxins that our body was never exposed to 60 years ago. People were so much healthier than we are right now. It's so sad. Glyphosate, that's Roundup. Horrible damage in the body. Pesticides, a diet from living on food out of a box or a bag, processed foods. They have chemicals. That isn't feeding the cells what they need. Heavy metals, that can be amalgams in your fillings, that can be drinking out of aluminum cans, it can be vaccinations. But cosmetics, oh goodness, anything we put on our skin is in our bloodstream in 12 seconds. So think of that before you put on your moisturizer tonight before you go to bed. We do have an amazing one, by the way, in the Alavita product line that works with the patches. I highly recommend it. It's clean and just beautiful. Indoor pollution. But they did a study of these 10 little babies in utero, and what they found is in 2004, so this study was 20 years old, 287 toxins in their blood. 212 of those toxins were banned 30 years before they even did the testing. So what this is telling us is a lot of our genetics and the toxins that we get, we inherit from our mother, our grandmother, our great grandmother, and so forth. So just be aware, even though you might think you're a super healthy eater, you don't know what you have stored in your body. And those toxins do build up. I mentioned they do get stored in fat tissue, but we do have the ability to detox the body, thankfully. And really, the body we're born with has a powerful detoxification and repair system baked right in. And the reality is, we can't duplicate that with anything synthetic or a medicine. You cannot fool Mother Nature on this stuff. And there is something out there, and I always like to warn people, especially when they're starting that glutathione. This is a big gun. We never start on this in the first month. This is the second month when we're talking about raising the peptide in our liver called glutathione to open pathways intended to get these toxins out of the body. But retracing is a natural occurrence when the body is starting to give cleansing a priority. It can make you feel a little flu-like. It's nothing detrimental. It usually lasts a few hours, maybe a day. And it can feel a little uncomfortable, but we encourage you to eat some more whole foods, preferably foods with water like celery, watermelon, those nice juicy fruits and citrus. Drink more water, flush those things out as glutathione's releasing them from the body. And you might want to wear it a shorter duration. We always are wearing our other patches for 12 hours on, 12 hours off. When you start glutathione, give your body a break. Just do 6 hours for the first day. But some of us have genetic weaknesses in the brain, the heart, the kidney, the gut. And these things can trigger back from 14 generations before us. And that's where we say, we inherited this, but you don't have to keep it. Again, just remind you of that timeline. 1 month for every decade you are old. And really, this product and this company comes down to one thing, and that's balance of the body. Homeostasis is the goal. And with the patches, we're just helping the body to ward off the negative impacts of toxins, the environment, and taking the body to a younger, healthier state. And that repair timeline, of course, is always unique because we don't know what people are dealing with and what they've been exposed to. But what it comes down to at the end of the day, this company is all about putting purpose over profit, keeping the most life-changing tool on this planet to change our health trajectory, and making it very affordable. And it comes down to harnessing the power of light. And I always say, if you care, you share. So share the light. So we are going to stop sharing now. And I'd love to open it up. If anyone has any questions, we're happy to answer those. And we're so glad you joined us tonight. I want to give you a quick reminder. Joy, Cammie, and I are always here on Mondays and Tuesdays at 6 p.m. Pacific. And we really thank you for joining us. So I'm going to stop recording and then we're going to answer some questions.
Thank you, Tracey.